Are you ready, Gail?
May as well ever be. Okay, it's going to get noisy, so I'm going to turn on a compressor, so just so that you know. So I started thinking about working with a piercing utensil a few years before COVID, and I was in Lethbridge and I first met Glenn Christensen down there, and we were down there taking a course together with a fellow by the name of J. Paul Fennell. I don't know if any of you heard of J. Paul Fennell, one person. If you're interested, I have pictures of his work. His work goes for $3,000 to $5,000 a piece, and they're only miniatures about that big. He does fantastic work, so if you're interested, either Google him or I have some pictures that I can show you. Now, I didn't do any piercing down there. We did more of work with basket weaving, but he introduced me to that to start with, and then, as most of us do, we put it down and walk away from it. But then I've also wanted to do it for so many years since then. So it was perfect when Ken, a few months ago, 3 or 4 months ago now, made a vase. And I was the lucky recipient, as I mentioned, I think last month, to receive it. So that I thought, well, I've got to start doing some work on it. So then I thought, okay, let's experiment. So I didn't jump into the vase to start with, because I know that if you use an instrument, sometimes the instrument follows the grain of the wood and takes off from there. How many of you actually have done piercing on wood? 3 or 4? So the rest of you have never done anything? So I can tell you just about anything and you'll believe me? Thank you. So what I did was I started experimenting. And yes, it does take off in different directions if you're not careful. So this is what I started with. I started with the one at the end, and I thought, what am I going to do? Most of the time, you want to make fancy stuff, because you've seen Ken's and you've seen a few other people, whoa, I can do that. But I thought, no, I want to start simple, so I can get the technique down first, and then I can go from there. So I thought, well, let's just go for it and see what happens. So I just took a small piece of maple that Glenn actually cut for me. He cut me 4 or 5 pieces so that I could experiment with them first, and that's where I got started from that. So what I did was, when I got the vase, I thought, what am I going to do with it? Sometimes it takes you longer to figure out what you're going to do than actually doing it. So this vase actually had 2 cracks in it. So I thought, well, let's first get rid of the cracks. So I thought, what am I going to do? How am I going to do that? Well, to start with, my question to myself was, how am I going to make a straight line? So I wanted to make a straight line because I didn't want to ruin the vase that I had won. So I thought, what am I going to do with this? So when I received it, to start with, Ken said use these clamps because it was green wood. So I put it on the vase, and it worked like a charm to keep it round. And I changed it every day, flipped it upside down, and then back the next day, and so on, as he told me to do. And I thought, well, why not use that as an implement that I could use to cut a straight line around the outside edge. So first I had to make straight lines down the side, so I wanted to be straight. I was sort of fanatic about that. So what I did was I just took obviously a metal ruler as opposed to plastic or paper or something. And I actually attached that, and what I did was I just went along the edge of the actual ruler. Thus it became straight. I don't know if other people have done that or if you just went straight at it. I didn't want to. I wanted to make sure that it came out reasonable. So this works perfectly for doing edges around the top if you want to cut out a piece. I haven't figured out yet as to, it's okay, I can overtalk them. I haven't figured out yet as,
hey. Can you kind of keep it down there, folks?
I did that or share with us. Nobody wants to share when you ask them to share. I don't know what I'm going to do yet, and please, those people have done some work before. I'm not sure how I'm going to make curves yet that are going to be straight. I don't have any.
Use quarter-inch tape.
Quarter-inch tape?
Yep. And
quarter-inch tape.
And then just shape it.
And go from there?
And then mark on each side with a pencil.
Right.
And you got your...
Okay.
Body work tape works best. Body work.
Body work tape? Okay. So go to Princess Auto?
Yeah,
Yep.
MS.
Okay. All right, I'll try that. So what I did once I got the edges cut, then I thought, okay, let's be simple. So I thought, well, let's try something simple like I did it on this little piece. So I started cutting.
That was quick.
You like that? But the vase obviously becomes tapered. So I thought, well, we've got to make it look artistically. So we went and did a curve, a little bit of an angle, so it would match the curve of the actual vase. So then I just went for it. So what I did was, I'll just sit down for a second here.
First of all, I'm sorry. How do you get your mouse to be so thin?
Oh, that's courtesy. Yes, that's a whole different. That's courtesy of Ken.
Yeah, good. Yes.
Ken has actually done all three. I have purchased other ones from him so that I can continue playing with my new hobby. Yeah, excellent. Does an excellent job of it. Highly recommend purchasing from Ken.
That's it.
And for club members, it's 10% off.
No, that's for me.
Finder's fee.
Yeah. So, for those who've never done it before, it is one noisy with my particular setup. My setup is a Presto dentist drill.
That's the best you can buy.
So when I first bought it, outside of being in Lethbridge, I went to a dentist's office and experimented on some people's teeth. No problem. I found I had a few problems, but anyway. So what I did was, I started off with just drawing something on it. I just drew lines on it. Just circles and lines and different things that I could make shapes with. And then I just cut through.
Does it pull at all?
Does it pull? It drags.
Yeah.
I found that what I would do to start with is, if you don't want to use up a lot of bits, don't go straight through and try to cut everything at once. It does not work. What I did was I cut layers off, layer by layer. So you're going around, say for these, I usually went around at least 3 times for every hole. So I cut the first level first, then the second level, and until I was actually through the hole. So it actually worked quite well.
And the sad part is, if you make the wood too thin, then you gotta be so careful, because, like she mentioned earlier, if you get on a line of grain,
Yeah.
it'll just
Takes off on you.
on you.
Yeah. That's why I experimented first, because I figured that something like that would happen. So once you realize that, then you can sort of adjust the line as you're going along to do it. Now you also want to be careful that you're just piercing the wood and not your hand. So if you're not concentrating enough on what you're doing, you'll definitely feel it in a hurry. I've just about done it a couple times. Oh, my hand's too close. So it does become a little noisy, so I highly recommend earplugs or the muffs, something that, especially if you're using a compressor. I don't know the other systems if they're that noisy. Does anyone use anything else other than a compressor?
Compressor, man, that's noisy. You wear earmuffs, so you don't jump when it comes on.
Yeah.
I use a straight vacuum, sucking dust, and I wear earmuffs.
Yeah. Yeah, I do at home. I just didn't bring them here. But for those who've never done this before, it can be messy and dirty. So just so that you're aware of that. So, you know, keep
Oil-based compressor are more expensive but less noisy.
Oh, okay. Well, I actually never bought that for this. I had it ahead of time. So this is the second one I'm working on. The first one, as I said, I thought I'd just try it, experiment with it. Now that I'm a professional, I can try something different. But I started with the two bigger pieces on the outside, and I thought, well, let's get a little fancier. So I started doing the little butterflies. And I'll explain a little bit more about that in a minute. But on this one, I usually have it on myself. I usually sit on a stool that's in front of a workbench that I bought from Wayne Lee a couple summers ago now, I think, 2 summers ago. Then I prop it up, I put my legs up and prop it up, and it's easier to hold, which makes it more comfortable. But you can only do this for so long. As those people who've done it, it becomes very hard on the buttocks. I teach anatomy, so I could tell you exactly what it's hard on, but it won't.
So you draw the pattern?
I draw the pattern first. Nope. But I change it as I go along. Yeah, no, I wanted to make sure that to start with, I knew what I was doing for the pattern itself, so I overlap a lot of the pieces. But yeah, eventually I'm hoping not to. But I thought to start with, probably the best idea to do that. Also highly recommended that you get a fan. Now I do have a fan, which I'll turn on in a minute. But you can't laugh at my fan. Portable fan. Actually, my husband found this. He works at a golf course, and he found it on the golf course. He said, "Here, well, that's perfect for taking it with you." So you love the smoke away, because it's really not good to breathe in all the burning of the wood that you're producing. So you can do it that way, put it inside, and continue. It does work. Use your phone up. I also found that you end up with little fuzzies from the wood. What I did what I do is I make bevels to get rid of all the little fuzzies. I don't know whatever anybody else does, but I thought by beveling it, it'll help cut it away. I bevel it on the inside to get that inside away, which works quite nicely.
And you can get rid of the fuzzies by sanding outside and inside too.
True. Yes, you can. But if you're doing it at the same time, getting rid of it at the same time, I found that worked quite nicely. So just holding it at an angle and making sure that you just get rid of it. The hardest part was making sure that, and I'm not quite there yet, but making sure that the distance between the different pieces that you're cutting are close to being very similar. So as you saw me draw it, well, I'm making it a little bit bigger now, so I sort of do both. Not only do I draw it, I also ad-lib as I'm going along. Your teeth feel good?
Good.
Yeah, you can, as he said, I also have the sandpaper to do it. And also it takes away the lines if you don't have the lines. I also try to get rid of the brown, the burning area inside each little square. But Ken was saying some people ask how it's actually done, how that burn got in there, and they liked it. So I might just
I found more people want it than
burn.
once you spray lacquer on, it gives it contrasting and depth to your piece.
Mm-hmm.
So when I got a little more daring on my butterflies, I just went on Google and got a butterfly pattern. And then took some carbon paper, put the carbon paper under it, and just traced it on.
I found, Gail, that you can use a laser burner and burn a pattern. You get patterns for all sorts of things. And any JPEG pattern, and you just burn it right on the thing and then follow that pattern of the burned lines. And it works really good.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, as long as you don't
Perfect.
have going around a real tight bend, the laser burner still works okay.
So I'm assuming you can see this. I don't know how close you can get, but by following it, you've got all kinds of little, oh, thank you. You've got all kinds of little lines, so that's where I became more inclined to change the pattern inside the butterflies, because it became very difficult to make all the same holes that the butterfly had.
Gail, if you go to a place and get a stylus instead of using a pencil, you can get very, very fine, which helps you a lot.
Oh, okay.
Because otherwise you're forever sharpening the pencil to get a real
Right.
point on it with
Right.
at least the 2H, but those stylus work beautiful.
Okay.
I didn't
Good to
even
know.
what it was. I was two ladies that were artists. They said, "What do we need?" They went and bought me one. When I was,
So what I did with the smaller little pieces together, I made my own pattern because it was hard to get through without cutting through the little lines between the different compartments on the butterfly. So that's where I sort of changed the pattern a bit up through this area as well. So it makes a big difference to try to follow the edge of the in this case, the butterfly. So it's the same thing, but a little bit. What I did for the for some of them, I burnt the outside edge. I didn't go all the way through, obviously.
did you just do with
Oh,
bit?
Yes. Yep. I'm using a 169. A 169. Yeah. I guess I better not cut through the table. So this piece of wood is just a little thicker than the vase. So obviously it takes a little bit more time to get through the piece. But it is a little bit time consuming, so you can't really, at least I can't really sit there for 5 hours and do it. I can sit there for about 3 hours, but that's about it. After that, it becomes a little hard on the backside. But I would cut all those through and finish making the holes. But if you're making, as I said, if you're making little puncture areas, see, you break them. You break the actual bit off, so you have to make it 2 or 3 times. Harder the greater the chance of actually breaking the bit.
You take a powder or brass brush, you can clean them. Just stop your machine and then set it on the bit on the edge of the powder. Just brush and clean them.
This is what he's talking about. Trying to make a little hole. Make sure you have a. So you don't break it. And if I said this is a little thicker, this wood. Oh, there goes another one. You may also want to use a thicker, perhaps a thicker drill bit, a little heavier one than the fine ones that I was using to start with. Yep. Glenn actually got about 100 of them, so we just split them. He got them on eBay. I don't know where other people get them, but some of them can cost about $3.15 each. Whereas these, I'm not sure what company you got them from, but the drill bits were about $1 a piece, which is.
If you say made in Canada on the front of the box.
If you go to your dentist.
Yes, I've got some from my dentist
and
as
you
well.
ask them, and
Yep.
they'll quite often give you, and you tell them that you like these ones, and they run them through their
Autoclave?
Yeah, and then they'll say if you have some kind of
Don't work for it.
is that right?
I had a diamond one, it's very small, they tend to be wide, cut, and it wouldn't work. These are the best bits, the 1/6/9s.
Look how smart you are. That's why we pay you the big bucks. Don't in the coffee.
Good job, John.
That's what I've learned so far. Just basically all trial and error, and a few assistant remarks from Ken and from Glenn, and hopefully someday I'll be just as good as Ken. Any questions? I could do the whole, do more carving, but it's kind of boring for you guys to sit there and watch and smell it. Is there anything special about the regulator? Not to my knowledge. It's the regulator that they recommended that I buy with the rest of the equipment that he sold to me at the same time.
What pressure is the bit of the drill and run on?
Approximately 30. Yeah, just we set it up to go up to 30, so it just drops a little from there. So it works quite nicely. Yep. But this kit that I bought came with variety of different bits, but I've actually only used the 169 bit because it's the sharpest, and it works well with what I want to do. But
Sorry.
no, it's okay.
Takes a lot of patience, and I'm guessing there's over a week's worth of work in there.
It does take patience. This took me approximately 12 hours.
For the whole thing?
Yeah.
That's quite.
Yeah. But then,
And your style is modified in relation to the variants.
I'm happy with that comment. Thank you. If I get his approval, I'm good. Yeah. But yeah.
What you did was you took, in reality, you took and like piercing out what is normally the color, but it really looks and accents well on the wood.
Yeah. What I want to do is airbrush this, but I don't know how to airbrush yet. So down the road, several months down the road, when I learn how to airbrush, I'll bring it back and show you how it will be. But right now, I haven't done that yet. But if anybody wants to try it after, by all means, come on up. You can try it on some of the pieces of wood that I have here. This is a little thicker, thinner. You can try it on that as well. So. Any other questions?
What kind of wood is that?
Birch.
Birch?
Yep, this is birch. No, I think it's birch. It's birch. I'm pretty sure it's, yeah, it's birch. He only cuts birch. Yeah. Birch, right? Birch?
Yes. It's a common wood in Alberta. We have lots of it. That's the only thing that foresters don't take out of the bush. They leave them all standing.
And you can cut it as firewood.
Huh?
You can cut the dead standing wood.
But for $5 you can get it from it.
Yeah. I will agree with it.
But it's really nice to cut, to pierce.
And, yeah, it's nice straight grain generally. If you get a 8 to 12 inch piece and turn it down to that size, it gets super white wood, which can be appealing to do your embellishing.
Yeah, so clean, look at this.
Yeah. But I highly recommend a fan, heater protection, a mask, and old clothes that you don't mind getting dirty.
Gail, and with the fan, the best is to suck the
Away.
stuff away instead of blowing it. Especially if you get into doing pyrography work as well. You want those fumes gone.
Right.
And this time of year, having the door open on your shop and a big enough fan to just push it outside.
Not in the shop where all the dust, sand.
My wife has a little desktop dust collector
For pyrography?
for nails.
Oh, okay.
And it's about $100 and it seems to work really good. But it'd probably be perfect for something like that, just to sit inside.
So does it suck it away, or?
Yeah, I think it just goes into a filter though. There's no collection bin or anything.
Oh, that's good to know.
We'll see how long it lasts and how many filters it goes through.
Okay, anybody else? Any other questions, comments, add to it? Okay.
Thank you very much, Gail.
You're welcome. Does anybody want to try it after? No? Okay, well, let's take it apart. Maybe.
Maybe. Should we stop for a coffee?
Well, we have these kicked off here, so we'll tell us, some little quick ones that are up for the gate. And, Gloria, it's a little water container on here. First and foremost, I make them take water. But, I made this one big enough to hold, the water area if somebody wants to put a water in. So we'll call it. Texture tool. And I couldn't find, I've got a decorating element, I've got some sort of miniature, but I couldn't find a decorating element in Canada anymore. I ordered from the UK or from the US. So yesterday, I made this little baby. It's got a little cutter in it, single cut cutter, piece of brass, a couple bushings, and I made 25 lantern ornaments in the last couple of days. I don't know if you see the embellishment on there. It's not a very good piece of wood to show it. With this tool, I was able to put a little bit of decoration on it. And the sum total of parts and missing here was less than $10.
What do you charge to make one?
I knew that the question was going to come up. What I can say is that if anybody wants to make their own, get a hold of me, we'll order some parts and we'll make them, and we can either make them in my shop, or I can show you how to make them, or I can make the brass piece and you make it, put it in your own handle.
Yeah, I'm interested.
Okay?
We could do that as a group project at one meeting.
Yeah, we could do that. I did all the drilling on the road, but yeah. Okay. So anyway, I just thought I'd bring that tonight to show everybody that it's possible. You can make it relatively inexpensive. They may not be the same as a decorating elf, but Mike Reese made one like this 7 years ago, and he's still using it. Last time I talked to him, he said it's still going strong. So I thought, yeah, I can make one for less than, $10 worth of parts. If it lasts for 5 years, that's good enough for me.
You figured that's all you needed for is 5 years?
The next thing I got here is I started making my 2024 Christmas ornaments.
Bring it closer to the camera maybe, Bert.
Okay, so there's little lantern ornaments. There's a few of us online were talking about these, and most people make them with 4 sides. Well, I made mine with only 3 windows. 1, 2, 3. And the main reason is when you look at it straight on, you can see the reflection of the light off the back. If you turn it sideways and look at it on a tree, all the light seems to kind of disappear out the back window. But when you look at it on a tree this way, it reflects back into the room. So on all of mine are now only 3 windows. Interesting enough, you can see the lanterns. I just turned these on. They got brand new batteries and turned them on tonight. This particular one, you can barely see the light, but it is still on. And at night, it's bright enough that you can still see the lantern has a light in it. I turned this one on December 20th. So these are timed tea lights. They come on for 6 hours a day. So when you turn them on, they'll stay on for 6 hours, then they shut off. 18 hours later, they'll come back on for 6 hours. And I turned this one on in December 20th, and it's still coming on every day. It's almost done now, but I think 4 or 5 months is pretty damn good. So timed tea lights off of Amazon.
Can you change them?
Oh yeah, you can change the battery. And it just is a 2032 battery. You can buy them for like 25 cents a piece on Amazon. They're really inexpensive batteries. But they last a long time. I haven't tested them, so it lasts a long time. That's all they have. Who's next?
I'll go next because it has to do with you.
One other thing, anybody that wants some of those little tubes from those wood pots? Okay. We got 50 of them. I got a box of 1,000, but I got we're going to share it. So anybody that wants some more, I've got a big box of them. Anybody else? I just put 50 in a bag.
I'll take a few.
Sure, yeah, I don't need this many.
Give me a shout. I've got a box of 1,000. I didn't want to bring the whole box tonight, but just give me a shout and I can get them to you.
Those are the lights?
No, those the two.
Custom sort of thing.
You want me to dump them in there? You want a bunch of them?
Okay. Last week, Bert gave out some wood for making pens. It's Jatoba. And I shared the wood with a fellow from Grand Prairie. I don't know what his name is. Rick. So these are 2 of the pens that I made. Just a couple? Thanks to Bert. They're basically for fishermen with the fish on the top and the, oh, this is going the wrong way, fish on the top and the rod down below, and the end has the rod as well. Thanks, Rick.
After the last meeting, I think it was, Ted that sent out a notice for a video presentation that was happening through, I think it's Record Power.
Yep.
And so the lady was Ruby Claire.
Ruby
And
Claire.
so I listened to that and I thought, well, I should probably try some of her techniques. She did a bunch of different ideas on how to use paint and texturing. And I thought those were pretty neat things. I had not seen that before. So this was my first attempt at paint and texturing. I actually ended up using stain instead of paint. I found the paint hard to work with. So this is a piece of, I think it was a cherry tree that was chopped down. So I used some 3 different colors of stain to get that effect with the wood grain that really pops out. And then just a Dremel to get the texturing around the edge.
That's very nice.
Yeah, thank you. Finished with by one color.
What colors did you use?
I'm sorry?
What type of color for the pinkish purple?
The base that really pulled out the wood grain is a navy blue. And then I use a rosewood for the accent, piece, and a red, I can't remember what the red was for the other cover coat.
What brand of stuff was it?
Salmon, S-A-M-A, salmon
Okay.
stain. Just come in small bottles that I've found. And the finial, I just had a piece of that red zebra wood that matched the ring, so I used that.
Oh, that's really nice.
Before I start here, I just found out today that the large mountain ash in Devon is being felled tomorrow. If anyone is interested in picking up some wood before it goes to the dump, the address is 1 Pembroke Street in Devon. If anybody can't make it and would like some pieces, get a hold of me and tell me what you need, and I will see if I can bring it for you.
What size diameter are the pieces?
It's a huge old tree. I think I saw it last year and I don't remember it distinctly because I didn't know it was going to be coming down. But I think the trunk is at least 12 inches.
Okay. I'm interested.
So I'd like to introduce you to my failure. I'm reminded that turning rhymes with burning. This was inspired by Stu, who brought in something he made a few months ago, which is epoxy with bits of wood dropped in and then turned. So me being me, of course, that wasn't enough. I decided I was going to bury LEDs inside. And so far I've been through 2 sets of LEDs that didn't work. And I've destroyed a cooking tray in my oven. This one is leaked enough that I have to dig out the battery from the switch. So I bought 2 cheap plant pots at a dollar store and put one inside the other, and there's about a 1-inch gap all the way around. And obviously, the hazard is if you turn too deeply, you're going to sever the LED lights supply. So I decided that the walls would be ½ an inch, and I hot glued 1/4 strips of spruce to the inside mold, and then a combination of ½ inch pieces with a hole drilled through to thread the LED lights. And basically went ahead with that, threaded all the lights through, and that didn't work. The string broke down for some odd reason. The epoxy ran out everywhere. And on that note, just a clue for anybody that hasn't worked with epoxy, I had another project ruined because after 1 month it still hasn't solidified. And I phoned Magic Epoxy and asked them about it, and they said, if you keep it more than a year, it probably doesn't work very well, so they don't recommend keeping it more than a year. Because what happened was I got to the resin, and in the bottom there was 2 inches of solidified resin. And you know, the hardener hadn't been anywhere near it. So I phoned them, and they recommended putting it in a bowl of really hot, perhaps boiling water, and reconstitute it. And it worked. I've used it since, and it worked. So just a hint for everyone. So anyway, this thing went off center. I had to rub my 2 brain cells together to figure out how to make a ½ inch without chiseling too deep. So what I decided to do was I took 2 1/4-inch thick strips of wood, and what was to be the outside I painted red, and then the string was threaded through between them, the idea being that I kept turning until I saw red, and don't go any deeper or I'm going to sever the line. That didn't work. For some reason this thing went off center. I don't know whether it was me, the way I put it on the lathe, or the flower pots are kind of flexible, so it might be that one wall got poured thicker than the other, I don't know. But I've learned some lessons, and I'm going to try again. So that's the sum story. Thanks.
Yours last month was so cool. Just a little piece of maple and made a little bowl and a little epoxy ring embellishment on the rim is part of the gluing the puffball into the middle. I'm not going to be able to get it clean, so I might as well turn it into a feature. So it's a little blue. Set of earrings. I think I made 7 of them or 8 of them before I got 2 that were the same size. And again, the challenge, if you really look close, the nice darker brown versus lighter brown, not exactly level, but they're the same size. So.
And there's one on either side of your head, so I'll never see them.
Other people will look.
What do you stuff your pincushion with? Just cotton?
No, bits of wool and some steel wool. And that was, again, recommendation from Bert. Well, also, the steel wool sharpens the needles.
Oh!
And then the wool, and it was 100% virgin wool, has got a lanolin in it, and it lubricates.
Oh, yeah. So we should find a cheap.
I actually have some old wool, like yarn, I can cut pieces here. So you may have seen this a couple of months ago. It's just a little bowl, a little box there, and plain old maple, and there's nothing to it. There's no figure to it. So I finally figured out what I wanted to do: a little school of fish in there, and they've got some little iridescent colors to it. So took a little bit of creativity and some. Well, there's a little gold in there, metallic. I want to look closely, and just outlined with a regular India ink pen, art pen, and filled it in plain old stuff.
Colors are in the ink as well?
No, the colors are actually watercolor. It's because I happen to have watercolors, so but it's all spray on lacquer over top of it, so it should be good. I hope it doesn't get wet.
Are those little stencils, or did you paint that?
I got my little ruler out, and some of them are 1.25 inches, and some of them are 5.75 inch or 3/4 of an inch, and I did that freehand, but I had a grid. I put a grid so that each of the fins were exactly the same height as the body, and the nose was exactly the same distance from the end. And so there was a little bit more, I guess, precision to them than just slapping them on. So I wanted them to be very similar. And just finished this one, which is, I think it's walnut. very happy with the way the bottom turned out because you really cannot see how I held it on the lathe, and I guess that's something we can be proud of when we make something and somebody looks at it and goes, how the hell did you make that? How did you hold it on the lathe? So I'm happy about, really happy about how that one turned out, and it's just a very simple little pole. Yeah, that's
Yeah, I brought a couple of pieces of work in progress tonight to show you as it started out and where I've ended up so far. It's a leftover epoxy from the pour that Bert did, and I had a piece of Manitoba maple I stuck in a quick little mold that we made up, and ended up with this. I turned this whole thing yesterday, and they did a flood coat about 4 o'clock yesterday afternoon, and managed to take it off the lathe this morning to bring it here. I'm going to give it another coat, finish off the bottom, and that's it. It's done. And this one is a piece that Steve gave me. It was all leftover epoxies that he had from different pours that he had. It was just layered up in a round container, and I didn't know what to do with it, but anyway, I stuck it on the lathe, and that's what I ended up with. And it's got one flood coat on it so far, and I'm gonna sand a little bit more inside and give it another coat. You'll notice there's a gold flake through it, and that flake came from my flood coat. I added a little bit of gold to it, and it's a minimal amount, very little I put in it, but it gives it a little sparkle all over, so it's just an added feature. You know, like I say, another flood coat? No. Take the bottom off and it'll be done. There it is.
Poplar plate. Started out as a square piece, but I tucked the corners in and then used a flexible ruler so that I could get the curve on the sides, and put a foot on it and chucked it up and did both sides, and it's finished with lacquer.
How thick is it?
How thick? I don't know, about a 1/4 inch. Any other questions? No? Okay. That's all I have. What's next?
Two of the pieces that I brought. This one here is, this one here is willow, and this one here is willow as well. And just from different parts of the tree. This is like just a scrap piece that I salvaged, and it was thick enough that I could get a base turned on it, and then some of the flats and angles that were left over, all I did was I sanded them down, and I used nature oil on them, and that's pretty much it. They had really good figure in them, so you know they were worthwhile to actually take the time to turn.
How many coats of finish you put on the car?
On the outside, I'll start off with one after I finish sanding the outside.
Yeah.
And then I'll add 2 or 3 coats again after, when I'm adding 2 or 3 coats on one side too. So, you know, you get oil quite a bit. It gets them left with a nice, soft, soft feel to them. These 2 here are black poplar, and a lot of the times some of the stuff comes off and it's the wood's rotten or starting to rot, and some of the best colors come out as it starts to decay, and that's where you get your spalting and everything else. And like this. And then I salvaged a little bit of the bark and that was left on this and that. And I had a very large tray, so I just did a little bit of embellishing on it with one of those sovereign sorbent cutters. You get the different wheels with the different teeth on them. And I just go around the back of that. And yeah, I had, like this one here's got, if you can see it, it's got wormholes or ant holes in it, you know, where they've trucked through. I've got some other older ones that I've done before that have like tracks right through and all that kind of thing. And they're, the bigger holes are done by grub. But if the wood's still firm enough to turn, you just have to be a little more careful. And you can get some pretty good character out of it. Yeah, so this is a little tea light holder that I did, a piece of scrap, and then there's some. This is willow, but it's got some spalting in it, and all through it, and I just turned it up and put a little line on the outside and then stuck a tea light in it. You know, it's a way to use up the wood without, you know, throwing everything into the fire.
This is another birch piece, and just a different style of piercing and some of my make-believe work, and did the interior blue to just give it a different effect. And this is also a piece of birch, and I textured all leaves or whatever you call them, and did them in different colors just to create kind of an art piece.
That's nice.
Just a different style.
Is there anybody left for the show and tell?
stands, based on Bert's video. This one's hickory. It's heavy. Could use it for I think it's a video that you did 3 years ago or so. Yeah. Good.
And as far as the wake stands go, Jeff, what were they saying? They could use 60 a month?
Yeah.
There were 60.
If anybody's going to take help, 60 a month. Wow. They got through.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. Folks need help.
Oh, yeah. This one's on the sweaters. Well, just as an email. You have, maybe could you add the plans for the week stands to the newsletter? Is that it? That's it? So week stands, they'll take as many as we can crank out, right? Okay, is there any other questions for this evening? That was good. I like that. All right.